So Apple just got hit with a memory cost crisis. Android brands are raising prices. Tim Cook literally said on an earnings call that rising costs will drive an increasing impact on the business. And Apple's response, aggressive pricing on the iPhone 18 Pro. That's the headline. That's the word analysts used, aggressive, from Apple, the company that charges $12 for a cable in a box. So, what's actually going on here? Because I've read the analyst reports, I've read the earnings call, and the real story is way more interesting than the headline. Here's the situation: memory costs are through the roof right now. Analysts are literally calling it Ramageddon. AI demand has sucked up supply, and phone makers are passing the pain on to buyers. Samsung's already done it. Multiple Android brands have done it. And Apple, a company that just reported record March quarter iPhone sales, could have easily done it too and called it necessary. But they didn't, at least not in the way you'd expect. And there's one very specific reason why. It's not generosity, it's positioning. Let me show you exactly how this works. Okay, so first, let's decode the phrase, because aggressive pricing sounds like a sale, like Tim Cook is about to walk out on stage with a clearance rack. He's not. What analyst Jeff Pu, the name behind this report, is actually predicting is this: Apple keeps the base prices of the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max exactly the same as last year. That means $1,099 for the Pro, $1,199 for the Pro Max. No increase, not a dollar. In a normal year, fine, whatever, same price, boring. But this year, when memory costs are exploding and every Android competitor is raising prices, holding the line is the aggressive move. It's like showing up to a bidding war and just not bidding. You win by not losing. And this aligns with what Ming-Chi Kuo, another top Apple analyst, said earlier this year. Two analysts, same conclusion. Apple is protecting that headline price on the Pro tier. Here's where it gets interesting, because Apple's not eating those memory costs out of the kindness of their hearts. They're just moving where the pain lands. The base model stays at $1,099. Great. But the higher storage tiers, those could get more expensive. So if you were already planning to grab the 512 gigs or 1 terabyte version, that math might look different in September. Apple keeps the marketing headline clean. iPhone 18 Pro starts at $1,099, while quietly recouping margin on the people who actually want the storage to use all those features. It's honestly kind of genius and kind of infuriating, probably both. You get the perception of stability, they get to protect margins, and nobody writes the headline, Apple raises iPhone prices. Everybody wins, except you if you need 512 gigs. But here's the bigger picture play, and this is the part most coverage is missing. Android is about to have a rough year. Analysts are already predicting the Android market could shrink overall because budget phones simply won't get made. The memory costs are too high. And the mid-range and high-end Android phones that do launch are going to cost more than they used to. Apple is sitting at $1,099 for the Pro. Samsung's S26 Ultra is going to get more expensive. Pixel 10 Pro, probably more expensive. Suddenly, the iPhone 18 Pro isn't just the Apple choice, it's the value play in the premium segment. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say, but here we are, and this follows a very deliberate pattern. Apple absorbed $800 million in tariff costs in one quarter and another $1.1 billion projected the next, and still didn't raise iPhone prices at the fall 2025 launch. They have done this before. They take the hit strategically and go after market share when the competition stumbles. It worked then. They think it'll work again. So you're paying the same price as last year. What are you getting for it? The camera is getting a variable aperture on the main 48 megapixel fusion lens. Finally, actual optical control over light intake. That's a real, meaningful upgrade, not a spec sheet number. The kind of thing that changes how night shots and portraits actually look. Front camera jumps from 18 megapixels to 24. Under display, Face ID. meaning they may actually be moving toward killing the dynamic island, which is already rumored to be 35% smaller on these models. That's a design shift that's been years coming. RAM is reportedly getting a 50% boost over the iPhone 17 base model, and the chip almost certainly a 2 nanometer A20. That's a meaningful efficiency gain over the A19, not just a number bump. For $1,099, if these specs land, that's a genuinely strong lineup. And in a world where competitors are charging more for the same or less, it actually competes differently than it did last year. One more thing, and this one matters for context. This fall, Apple isn't just launching the Pro and Pro Max, they're launching the iPhone Ultra, their first foldable with a crease-free inner screen and a rumored price of anywhere between $2,000 and $2,400. $2,000 at minimum. You see what's happening, right? When you put a $2,000 device at the top of the lineup, a $1,099 Pro suddenly feels reasonable. That's not an accident, that's anchoring. Apple learned this with the Mac Pro and the Mac Studio. They learned it with the iPad lineup. Set the ceiling high enough and everything below it looks like a bargain by comparison. The aggressive pricing on the Pro isn't just about Android. It's about making sure you don't look at the Ultra and feel like the Pro is too expensive to bother with. They want to sell both. They need the Pro line to feel like the smart choice, not the consolation prize. So here's where I land on this. The aggressive pricing headline is real, but it's not what it sounds like. Apple isn't giving you a deal. They're playing a very calculated game. Hold the base price, adjust the storage tiers, let Android stumble, and make the Ultra feel worth the premium. Every piece of this is intentional. What it means for you, if you're buying base storage, September actually looks solid. Same price as last year. Meaningfully better camera, better chip, better RAM, under display Face ID potentially finally happening. If you want 512 gigs or above, wait for the full pricing to drop before you decide, because that's where the aggression might be pointing at your wallet, not away from it. Here's my question for you. At what price does the iPhone 18 Pro stop being worth it for you? Is it $1,099, $1,299? Or honestly, are you just waiting to see what the Ultra actually costs before you decide anything? Because I think a lot of people are in that exact spot. Let me know below. See you next video. Peace out.